Alright guys, welcome to another episode of Days of Glory Shopworks. So some of you have been following along on our 1980 Chevy C20 LS 4.8 liter swap. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown on it, and from there we're going to actually see if it's ready to fire up. It's there. I got to connect one battery cable, and I haven't tested anything electrically at all. I figured, hey, I might as well share it with you guys whether I win or lose. So here we are. As it turns out, it was pretty dang good. We reused the 2000 Chevy radiator, used a couple of hockey pucks down below to hold the bottom mounts. We used some rubber isolators for the shroud and for the rad, so the top sandwiched it all down nice. From there, we're pretty much running everything stock GM. We did hook up the factory gauges. So the oil pressure gauge, you can't see it, but it's way down below where the oil cooler adapter is. Now also, here's the ECM. If you'll notice, I have a driver's side battery in it, and that's out of a GMC square body with diesel, so like a 6.5 diesel or whatever. And so we're running the factory 2000 air box with a new filter, the expansion tank, radiator, coolant lines, one adapter up to 3/4 inch hose. We've got fresh engine oil in it, some 5W30. I did fill the oil filter already because I don't know how long it's been since the engine hasn't ran. Now I'm going to have to prime it a couple times to get pressure up into the fuel system if I wired everything in correctly. I got an inline pump on the frame. So we were talking about using an 87 Chevy fuel tank. That's the one to use apparently, and I would love to, but the one that I have, I don't know what condition it's in. It's already taken long enough to get this done to get my kid's truck back on the road. So what I'm going to end up doing is down the road through the winter we're going to buy a new fuel tank, fuel sender, and all the little odds and ends to redo the fuel system completely. But for now, the hub spacer worked on the transmission. The cooler lines are hooked up. I just had to adapt them from the 3/8 cooler lines on the radiator to the 5/16 cooler lines on the tranny. So right here we're running the factory with the quick connects, which I don't really like them, but they were there and they're not leaking. Amazingly, these hoses weren't leaking, so we're going to run them. Fuel lines, we didn't use any AN fittings. We used the factory hose ends, quick connects, ran those down to the frame, and with my inline pump and inline filter I actually had very little fuel line to run. We're running 100 psi fuel pressure hose, and I can't really think of anything else. Here's our wiring. So we've got ECM ignition switch power, ECM keep alive memory power, we have fuel pump, and our vehicle speed sensors down there as well. It's an Autometer 5291 pass-through system. This is battery feed power to feed the relays and everything. And I hooked up the charge wire off the alternator, which doesn't look like it anymore, but anyway, off the original 1980 alternator, hooked up the charge wire off of it to our little junction box here for just to make sure I've got the factory system interfaced. Do I know if I have it done correctly? There's only one way to find out at this point. So if you look down here, that's our coolant temp sensor. So that's a factory 1980 coolant temp sensor, and an adapter, and the bung that you can buy at like Amazon or whatever. Does it look a little hokey? Sure, but is it going to work? Yeah. Is it going to be completely accurate? I don't know, but we'll find out where it likes to run at, and we can kind of gauge from there on the factory gauges. I told you about the oil pressure sensors down there. Now we still have the factory GM 2000 Chevy oil pressure sensor at the back of the engine, and the coolant temp is right down here on the cylinder head. So that's all there for the ECM to run. O2 sensors are hooked up. We don't have any exhaust on it right now, just the turn downs off the manifolds. And from there, it's going to be loud, but at least we'll be able to fire it up, see if it'll run. So the plan is to fire it up, get it running, make sure there's no major leaks of any kind, get the cooling system bled, and then we're going to put the hood on it and run it down to my shop, and I can put it on the hoist at work. Picked up a couple of pieces of exhaust pipe from my buddy's place, and we'll see if we can connect to what's there, hopefully. And if that all works out good, this thing will be back on the road and also, figure I might as well show you. Still got a couple of wires to tie up, but here is our data link connector, and over here this is our check engine light. These little holders were here with the truck when she bought it, and we got rid of the mechanical gauges that used to be down on the body down there on the bottom of the dash. So overall, if I did my job right, it'll be ready to go. What do you say, guys? You want to hear this thing run? I do. All right.
Sounds good.
Well, guys, that felt pretty good. It fired up just like it was supposed to. I primed the fuel system 3 times, and I couldn't even hear the fuel pump running. So what's going to happen next is I'm going to zip tie up a couple of wires that are loose underneath the truck, and Aiden and I are going to drive it down to my shop, put it on the hoist, see if we can get the exhaust connected. Bit of a funky angle on the driver's side header, so hopefully we can come up with something. partially buried in the frame a little bit, just a little bit. I've welded worse together, so it might not be pretty, but it'll be connected. And from there, we're just gonna check things over, finish getting a few things secured underneath, and make sure nothing's rubbing. I think I'm pretty happy. And I know my kid's gonna be happy. She'll be here in a few minutes to try it out. Maybe I'll video that and you can see the look on her face when it's all said and done.
Yes?
Just put the key on first. Okay, now start it.
It's not quiet at all.
I know.
Love it.
Give it a little rev if you want.
That is terrifying. I love it.
All right, good deal?
Good deal. That's awesome.
DJs. Yeah. Nice. I guess we're going 29.
So how much do you like your truck?
A lot.
How did it feel while you were driving it?
Very good.
Smooth?
Yeah.
Awesome. Give a thumbs up to the camera. Well guys, we got the exhaust all done. Got a couple of Dynomax pretty much flow through mufflers. Like, they actually sound really good on the truck, as you just heard. Aiden's going to drive it for about a week. We're going to take it back in the garage, take a look at everything, make sure nothing's rubbing or leaking or any of that jazz. Keep an eye on the oil for a while, do an oil change in about 2 weeks. And from there, we are pretty happy. I think we can just about wrap up this job on the 4.8 liter LS swap into the 1980 Chevy C20. Thanks very much for following along. Really appreciate it, everybody.